Hi, everyone, and welcome to Happy Not Satisfied. My name is Dan Morrison, and I'm the founder of Happy Not Satisfied and host of this podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to hand it over to my amazing co-host, Ellie Morrison, to introduce our fantastic guest.
We are so excited to have our dear friend, Roma Villavicencio, on Happy Not Satisfied podcast today. She is the host of the Great Day SA show on television on Ken's 5 here in San Antonio. She also has her own company, La Coronita Hats y Más, which we will talk about soon. Roma, we just wanted to talk to you today because you are such an example of, I think, choosing joy through the process of continuous growth in your career and your life. And we have quite the history with Roma. She's interviewed us a few times for her career, for her shows, and we're just so happy to have you here, and we're honored that you're going to have a conversation with us about this. So let's go back. You are a journalist by education and by trade, so to speak. You have had quite the journey through your journalism career. I'd love to kind of give insight about how you started in your journey, how you got here, how you became the host of a morning show, and then some sort of trials and tribulations along the way. I think that really speak to the overarching theme of the show. So
definitely,
yeah, your background.
Thank you guys for having me here. I'm the one who's honored. I'm like, y'all really want to talk to me because I can keep going and going, but we are gonna have a great time right now because you guys are doing something really special. I think it's important to talk about these things, whether it's me, whoever is in this seat. So I'll start with how I got into journalism, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because really my trials and tribulations occurred right as I was gonna try to take the leap to start it, to really get it going. So growing up in a Mexican household, your parents, my parents at least, coming from Mexico, a lot of the cultural gaps were really difficult to relay to them and translate what I was trying to do. So they never really, were sitting there with us to do our homework or went to our PTA meetings, or they didn't know. The language barrier was very difficult. So my brother and I were kind of on our own, our whole education, just doing it, knowing our parents expected that of us because they left Mexico to be here. So I never, was frustrated about it. It was just a part of my life, So when college came about, I knew in high school that I wanted to be a news reporter. Nothing really ever, I wasn't like the little girl wanting to emulate my local newscasters, although I loved them and I was like, that's such a fun show. But even then I never said I'll be on Good Day LA. That's what I used to watch all the time.
Yeah.
But it was in high school where the morning announcements would play and I'm like, I'm pretty outgoing. I talk a lot, so let me do that. And I committed to it. And so I went to college for broadcast journalism with an emphasis in communications, emphasis in broadcast journalism. And during that time, my mother got sick right when I started college. And we all could not understand what happened because she was such a, I call her saintly woman because she really was so pure, so dedicated to her husband, to her children. She was really innocent, I feel, in a lot of her experience in the United States. She still had a really small town, old school mentality, and very Catholic. So that's why I say she was so pure. She was so innocent still. And when she got sick, we were all like, what? Mom is always on point. What is going on? She's just so off. And I'm going to college at the time and I'm working 2 jobs and we just couldn't believe that she was sick. Well, then they're like, she has cancer. And then they're like, she's gonna die. And we're like, what do you mean? What? So I'm 19 years old at this time. And I'm still trying to transfer from junior college to Cal State Fullerton, or actually I really wanted to go to San Francisco State because that's where I was born, Bay Area. But then it kind of I couldn't transfer my credits at the time. My mom was getting sick, so they're like, you wouldn't even make it for the cusp for the next semester to enter San Francisco State. So then I decided on Cal State Fullerton, and then I entered and my mom got really sick, and that's when we found out she had cancer, but it all happened really quickly. And you just have no choice other than to, okay, let's go with this. What's next? What do we need to do? Once they told us she was going to pass away, then you're at the point of okay, now it's hospice care. And I'm like, what is any of this? My mom is the head of the house and now we have to prepare for her death in our home, in the home that she's the head of. So that was what was really hard. And again, trying to finish college and be positive about it. Cause I think I was so young. I was a young college student, 19 years old. And in a Cal State Fullerton thinking like, I'm so cool, but I was so lost. And I realized I felt even more lost as soon as I knew and I accepted that my mom was going to die.
Yeah.
And so she died in our home in peace. And after that, my father also struggled with his own personal issues that affected our family growing up. I don't really talk about that a lot, but I'll say that as something else that really was hard to navigate at the time. Well, now I got to take care of dad. My brother had just gotten married literally right before my mom passed away. So he had his own life. And I just felt like it's on me. I got to take care of dad now. So that was really hard too, is continuing to try to be like focused, going to school and knowing my mom's not there, but like almost still not believing that she's gone.
Right.
So I really can't tell y'all that like I'm the superhuman or like that I had the strength. I didn't know what I had at the time. I just knew I had to do what I had to do to keep my life going. Yeah. And even at 19, I don't think those were the words I used. I'm just like, okay, my mom's gone. My dad, I got to take care of him too. And I got to finish school. But then moments where I lost like that drive and desire. I would miss my mom or just feel sad or like be worried for my father. And I have a godmother, Judy Moalam, who was my angel hovering over me the whole time. Like, I'm not going to let you quit. You're going to finish school. She would do things like to try to get me to continue journalism. She got me my own camera so I could go do my own stories and like, so sweet, you know? Well, then 2 years after my mom died, I was like ready to, I'm getting my education backwards. Let me rewind, guys, because that's wrong. I was in junior college when my mom died. I was trying to transfer when I got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. That's the process. There we go. And so that's where I was struggling because junior college, you kind of want to give up on it. I transferred to Cal State Fullerton. All the things lined up, like I mentioned, they weren't going to allow me to transfer. So when I got diagnosed with cancer, then I really wanted to quit. And I was just like, no way. And my hair was like maybe a little longer than I have it now. I'm 21 years old at the time. I'm like, there's no way. I have cancer. My mom just died of it. What? And my dad's like, what? And we just could not believe it. And once again, they told me I would have to go through chemo. And then they told me they removed one ovary. I was just like, I don't even know what I'm going to do after this. Like, well, am I going to live? Am I always going to have the fear of cancer reoccurring and stuff? And also feeling the void of my mother's care and her food and her comfort. Yeah. But luckily, my dad's like an amazing cook as well. So he took really great care of me. And my godmother, who I mentioned, wouldn't give up on me, bought me the camera, did all these things to keep me going. And so I can't say I did it alone. I had support from my father, from my godmother, from all of my mom's friends from church. They were always there for me. And I just have another auntie, my tia Pati, who was a chemo nurse, and she like came to me, prepared me for how I would be feeling through the process of chemotherapy. And I swear if she was not there, I would not have been as positive. And that's what I did choose to do, is like, okay, I'm going to stick with positivity for this. I trust my aunt. She's saying like, if I'm down, if I'm saying why me, if I'm blaming the doctors, if I'm like in this negative state, like because I'm already going through chemo, she said it would affect me even more. Like, trust me, it's all about your attitude and how you go into this and the foods you're going to eat. And she couldn't have been more right. So I had a great cancer journey. I know that's kind of weird to say. I had the best nurses, the best doctors, kind of the opposite of my mother's journey. And I think I was more like ready to be my own advocate and ask the right questions medically, because doctors talk all this jargon and you're like, what? So you just have to ask the questions. And then thank God for my angels that were surrounding me who kept me positive. And I guess naturally I do have a spirit of like, let's be okay. Are you okay? Let's have a good time. Let's like make it better. Let's like play some music, And I do get that from my parents, who in their own way instilled that in us. And from there, thank God I'm okay. I'm alive. And they told me I would be fine after treatment. They were sure of it. And so I decided with my godmother's support to just, okay, I'm going to finish college. And then when I really got into it, I saw it, it was so close. Like, I'm going to be a reporter. Oh my gosh, I'm already doing my own stories here at campus. And I went to Medford, Oregon. Well, first I got a great internship at Garden Grove TV Channel 3. And I'm pointing that out because if I didn't have that internship, I wouldn't be here today. I really wouldn't. Helped me so much. Got my first job in Medford, Oregon, KOBI 5. And then here I am now in San Antonio for almost 8 years. And I know that everything I experienced brought me here, and this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And it's okay to have those terrible losses and traumas. It's not easy to recover from them. Now, as I'm older, I think they kind of creep up on me more because I'm more mature and I'm more aware. But I'm so happy that I'm in a city that's my home. It's my home more than Anaheim Hills is where I grew up.
Well, we're so happy that you feel San Antonio's home, because you make San Antonio feel like home for everybody who watches you every morning, who tunes in to see your bright, smiling, beautiful face. You know, one of the things that we talk about on this podcast is creating your own luck. And I don't know if you want to go into that
Sure.
question, because
Well, and even before that, thank you for sharing that story, by the way. That was an incredible just journey to listen to.
Moving, yeah.
Yeah. I struggle a lot with perspective, and I know that I have such a fortunate life, and I've never gone through anything as serious as what you're talking about. But I find small things just festering, and like I'm getting worried about it and upset. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. So I'd be really curious to hear from you how you're able to stay so positive, because you're such a joyous person. I don't know you super, super well, but I get the most amazing vibes from you when I'm around you. Like, do you have advice to people on that perspective piece and how to find that joy and persevere when things feel bad?
Yeah, because like, yeah, you're right. I am a joyous person, but guys, I will say this, and I don't talk about this a lot either, but as I have matured, it has gotten harder.
Yeah.
And I have struggled a lot with, no doctor has diagnosed me with depression, but I have struggled a lot like with those similar, I believe, symptoms of feeling so down and feeling so desperate sometimes, and like, not good enough, not worthy. Even though what's crazy that you say that, and thank you for being so kind and saying that, because I hate talking about myself like, oh yeah, I'm joyous, I'm this, I'm that. It's weird to me, but I know I'm on TV.
Yeah.
And people always tell me that you're always so happy. How do you do it? And my boyfriend now, he has seen some of my struggles, like, family things or personal things that we all have these struggles. I am not perfect. I am on TV. I'm blessed to do that. But y'all, I am just as human as you. And just what you said, like little things that fester, you have a fortunate life. Mm-hmm. That's okay though. Like your festering moments are totally valid. And that's the thing too. Like, I think for a long time, I just would like kind of talk myself away from being sad, down, feeling less, feeling these things. But the more I'm just like, okay, I can accept that I'm feeling this, but not all of it is true. Mm-hmm. Your mind is so powerful.
Yes.
Your mind can make you literally believe you're sick. Your mind can literally make you believe that nobody likes you. Your mind can make you believe that your, friends are talking bad about you, like your partner's cheating on you, whatever things that, like your mind is just crazy, like all these things that could bring doubt into you. And so as I've gotten older, while I feel like I've struggled more with those, mental health, maybe emotional moments, because I feel like I'm so much more emotional too as I'm older. Mm-hmm. I've also, even more recently, which is so funny when you reach out to me, I'm like, oh my God, I just recently feel like I have a little more of a grasp on those festering moments and how do I maintain that positivity. I believe that the funny thing is like the show is my gift in a way, while sometimes my own personal struggles have been with my career path. It's also the thing that feeds me with this joy and also puts me on this pedestal of like, you have to show up and you have to perform for San Antonio. And that's all I want to do because that's all I know how to do, I guess. So it's weird. I can't really compartmentalize my life, but for the show, I can compartmentalize. I can't even speak English sometimes. Sorry, guys.
You've had a long day.
Compartmentalize.
Yeah, compartmentalize.
However my mom would have said it. But I feel I am able to do that at work, okay? Like, it doesn't matter how bad my day is or if I got in a fight with someone or, like, I'll show up and no one will ever know. But I think all of us do that in our own way. You guys have a baby now, like...
I was gonna say,
you just got to show up for the baby now. Or like,
Yes.
I have a 10-year-old in my life now. My partner has a 10-year-old. Like, there's no room to be the one that's the victim that day. Like,
Nope.
I got to show up.
That's a good way of
So
putting
I
it.
It's a great
kind
way of putting it.
think about that with the show too. Like, no, the audience didn't do anything to me. My coworkers didn't do anything to me, or did they? I'm just kidding. They didn't. But you're just
Paul.
like, show up. Yeah, Paul and those eyebrows. He didn't brush them properly that day. I'm kidding. But like when you can take a step back and be like, man, I'm so lucky to be alive. Like that's kind of my reminder.
Right.
Every day, I'm just lucky. And lucky is the word you guys say, but for me, it's cliche. Lucky to be alive. I feel you have a lot of reporters say that too. They're lucky to be alive tonight.
Yes.
I would hate saying that because I'm like, no, stop that. We don't know the scenario. Maybe they're not lucky, maybe they are. But I just feel fortunate and grateful is a better word. And so I use that gratitude to like pick me back up, even when I'm down. Because I feel when I'm down, I'm my most selfish.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm like not even.
I think in some ways being down is selfish. Oddly.
Like, it's centered around the self, like in the struggle of the self.
You go inward and you're not able to have that perspective as much.
Yeah. So I would say like trying to be a joyous person for me is just reminding myself of what I have. And in my eyes, maybe it's not what you have or what the other people have, but it's what I have. And I believe most recently I just realized and learned, but most of all accepted that. And I'm in this phase right now of accepting what is. Because
yes.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but I'm like, accept. I literally tell just the word if I'm getting furious.
I was going to
about
ask
something.
if you have little tricks. It sounds like that's one of them.
One of them is just like accept and then just kind of take a breath.
Yeah.
Breathing helps a lot. And even then, I'm not saying I'm an expert at that breathing thing, but my therapist tells me a lot, like, you really need to meditate.
Yeah.
I think that will, and I'm like, what? I'm so hyper, like meditating? I would be like, it's too quiet. Like, I need music. I'm a lover of music. So I always need music. But I think just like accept. The new word I've been using is accept. Accept. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of helping.
I really relate to that because, a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is growth, right? And if you are ambitious, if you are goal-oriented, there's a certain amount of, pushing of yourself that you do or dreaming that you do. But I find that I get in my most unhealthy mental space when all I'm doing is thinking about forward.
You're stuck in the future.
I'm stuck in the future. And I really, really struggle with that. And I'm always, once I get to the future, I'm thinking about the past. And I'm like, that was so nice. But when I was in the past, all I wanted was the future.
Yeah.
And so the way that you say accept, that is what I'm working on so much right now personally. And it just hit me like a couple days ago. Just accept where you are. Like, why are you always trying to
so
pretend?
hard.
It
kind of goes against human nature for whatever reason.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And I do think motherhood helps with that because it has helped me because I'm looking at a little thing and he's an angel. Thank you. He's a year old now. And so he's starting to really come to life and like say a couple words and just be so joyous in the moment. And I'm thinking, okay, accept your moment. Otherwise you're going to try and rush through it. And then all of a sudden you're going to be at the next phase where things are undoubtedly more complicated or complex because there's more layers to your life, and then you've forgotten to love the moment you were in when you were in it, and all of a sudden it's gone, so because he's going to be older, at a certain point. And when you're in it and you're in the trenches, so to speak, you're like, oh, it's really difficult to not think to myself, oh, okay, just get to the next year.
I'll be happy once I.
Exactly. I'll be happy once I'll be happy once he is 4 and at school. I'll be happy once I feel less stressed because I'm, doing all the physical labor of parenting a baby. So it's interesting because the acceptance, I feel like, is so, so important. Do you have you developed certain wellness routines over the years? Because one of the things when I look at you and I see you, sometimes it'll be in the gym or something and your show will be on and I'm like, oh, don't meet that on TV. There she is.
So sweet.
But you're so effervescent, when you're on camera. That is a grind. What you do every day to be on a show is a grind. And just like you're talking about, there are some days where you're emotionally great, some days you're emotionally struggling. Have you developed your own sort of routines over the years to kind of get you geared up into that space to perform at your highest level?
I guess I don't know if I have a routine, but things that help me. Music, like so much. I play music, calms me down a little. Exercising has helped as well. I really feel like it's a release of sweating of some sort, which I never really like connected the two, but literally sweating it out sometimes helps. Talking to someone, but my therapist, of course, like I think it's, especially in my culture, therapy is like not talked about ever, you know? And I wish I knew about it like way when my mom died. I wish I knew that that was okay to go to therapy, you know? And when I went through my own thing, and then, you know, as I mentioned, having to kind of watch over my dad, not that he wasn't able to take care of himself. It was just, it's a lot of, the word is difficult to say out loud too, but a lot of traumas, you know? That it's different. Everyone's trauma is different. The life you grew up living, you know? But I wish I knew that there was therapy. So I want to encourage anyone who's raised in a really traditional old school household, whatever ethnic background that is, like, do not be ashamed to seek help for your mental health. And even right now, this is really the first time that I'm speaking about it like this. So my bosses might be like, excuse me, we never knew any of this. But that's okay. Like, I'm not embarrassed of it, because I hope that someone watching is like, okay, I can do this too then. Or not that I'm the reason why, but just knowing, like, normalizing mental health awareness and help and care. Yeah. And it's actually really neat. My boyfriend's sister is, I'm going sidetrack here, but I think how life connects you with these people in your life. My boyfriend's sister runs in Comal County, like the mental health department there. I don't know the exact wording, and she might kill me. Sorry, Jenny. But she's such an advocate for it. Yeah. And anyways, it's just so important, right? But I would say my routine is music, exercise, my therapist is key, because otherwise I'm stuck in my own thoughts, and I'm the only one narrating it back to myself. I can talk to my friends, and my problem has been I get too many opinions, and I'm like, well, she said this, he said this, who's right? Like, what am I feeling that's okay? They kind of justify that I'm okay with what I'm feeling, but the other person's like, you shouldn't be feeling that, you should be feeling that. And you just kind of lose yourself a little more when you do that. So, and I'm guilty of always like wanting someone's reassurance or like opinion about what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. So as I've also like gotten older, I've learned to trust myself more in what I need in that moment. And I always know that therapy is very helpful for me.
That's really interesting that you say that particular viewpoint about it. I struggle a lot with, you know, we all have fear, right? We all have self-doubt. We all feel like the imposter syndrome creeping in at some point. But I think I would like to do a lot of work on listening to those limiting beliefs, or learning to not, or redirect them and sort of, okay, that's a pattern. And you help me a lot just when we're blabbing back and forth, walking on the river or whatever. You know, how do you continue to take steps forward despite being afraid or despite having doubt?
Yeah.
Go on.
No. I mean, I think that's, everybody has that. And I just want to say thank you so much for being so honest about all of this. You're someone that people look up to and see on TV and see this beaming person, and to know that you have struggles and that you're working through them every day, I think is a really powerful message that everyone needs to hear. So I just thank you so much for sharing all that. It's really inspiring. There was something I just wanted to go back for a second, because it's been in my brain since I said it. When I said being down is selfish, I mean that in my own self, because it means that I haven't been showing gratitude, that I'm thinking about my problems and me. Not to say that being down is selfish for everybody. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah,
I don't think
I got what you mean. Like, you can't be down. You're terrible if you're down. No, I know what you're saying.
I know in my own experience, like when I'm feeling down, it's because I've kind of allowed myself to devolve into not the best version of myself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And some of that, I want to talk about the exercise thing for a second, because I think I love to exercise because it makes me feel better mentally. And yes, there are great physical benefits of it, and aesthetic benefits and whatever. I would be a much worse version of myself without exercise. Ellie can attest to that. And I always love to reiterate that point, because I think until you've felt it, it's hard to believe it. Yes. It's like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like that person likes to run because they want to go faster or something, as opposed to, no, literally I run because then I can be myself for the rest of the day. And the more people that say that, and the more we can get that message out there, like I think the more people might try it.
I think it's also about a routine, because I'll admit it, maybe you probably need it maybe every day. Everyone is so different. The amount, it's that dopamine from the exercise that you need that helps you feel and release your mind of those for that moment. you're kind of like, I'm not even thinking about my problems, although I'm crazy and sometimes I'm like on the Peloton and I'm like, but I'm like, no, this is the time not for that.
You still feel better at the end.
Yes.
Even if that stuff's lingering, you get off and you're like, I did something hard today and I feel good.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think back to what you're saying, it's not like, you're saying everyone needs to work out every day. It's what is your routine? Make it a part of your routine. However you talk to yourself, however you want to, and that's what my therapist tells me a lot. She's like, the way you begin your day is so important.
Oh. Yep.
And I'm guilty to this minute that I'm sitting here talking to y'all. I don't have the greatest routine. Definitely it's my phone. What the heck?
I know.
But also my job makes me really like, what's popping? Did I miss anything? Like, I got to look through Instagram. And it's like too much Instagram.
Yeah.
And I need to replace the Instagram with the meditation,
right.
But I believe having that routine and making sure exercise is a part of your life, like for those who are like curious about it, I think once you set that routine for yourself, it adds this structure that you're not so much dreading to do. Because I have dreaded working out sometimes. I'm like, but I'm like, I gotta do it because I feel so good after. Like you just feel like a weight is off your shoulders.
And I think eventually, at least for me, I never used to work out. I didn't wake up early. I didn't do any of that. I was lazy. And I hit a point with exercise where now it's like my favorite part of the day. And that might not happen to everybody, but it certainly will go from dreading to becoming more of a positive relationship in your life, I think. And just one more thing on that. I think it's easy to say, well, I don't have time for that. Like, I just can't. And actually, earlier today, I was having a conversation with someone, and he said, I say I don't have time for this, but really, I just don't make time for this.
It's so true.
Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I think we all have a little more time than we admit to ourselves. And we could make things a priority, like exercise. You don't need to run a marathon every day. Like 10 minutes is better than 0 minutes,
I mean, I am in a phase right now where I have been awful because I've been adjusting to becoming a mother.
Awful about exercise?
About exercise.
And you are not awful.
You're not awful.
Oh, gosh.
You're the best.
Thanks. No, but awful about exercising. And I have been in very strict stretches of exercise. And what it did for me when I found my way to it when I was a little bit younger, it gave me the ability to have perspective, zoom out. It just was something about that meditative action of the repetition or even going to yoga, whatever. It allowed me to find beauty in the smallest of things. And I find, when I feel the best version of myself, when I feel the most clear, when I feel the most inspired, it's because I have the mental space to look at a bird that's just landed on my patio and make some association connected to me and my life and how beautiful everything is. But when I don't make space or time for those routines that get me out of the grind, it's like you need to elevate for a little bit to then remember how wonderful everything is. Or if it's not, if you're in a stretch of difficulty or challenge, how do you remain positive, or how do you find the beauty in the struggle? The productive struggle is what we talk about a lot too. But for me, that's what exercise does, or journaling or whatever. And it's been tough. I mean, I've been in a year where I'm adjusting and I need to get back into it, but I can feel on a week where I do well, wow, is it different? And on a week where I'm not doing so well, it's different. It's very hard. So I think like not everybody, so many people think, that's so intense or whatever, but it's really just a way to get yourself in a clear state of mind to be able to listen to your intuitions and to listen to everything that's going on around you and the people in your life in a positive way to kind of move forward through challenges. Because life is challenge.
It's full of them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. But I think you also don't be so hard on yourself is another thing that I am so hard on myself because I'm like,
me too.
You want to deliver the best. You want to be the best, like number one. I just want to do a good job at everything I do. I want to like be intentional and I want to do so. And then if I just didn't get it right or, I beat myself up a lot. And even hearing you right now talk about, you just gave birth to another human being and you look fabulous and you're, you guys are adjusting to coming back to San Antonio and like, it's different now. You guys have a baby. It's not just you, right? You two. So
it's definitely different.
Both of y'all's routines are going to come, it will be figured out. So be easy on yourself. And like, just like what I need to tell myself is don't be so hard on yourself. Like, I don't think it's an enabling excuse. I think when you use it properly, it's like, it's important to acknowledge that, because when you beat yourself up a lot, you're like talking yourself down.
It's true.
And it's like it's kind of toxic when you do that.
We were just talking about that yesterday, about the importance of the voice in your head and how it shapes everything, and how to, learn how to coach it back to positivity, or to not let yourself get so down, or be victim all the time. And when you get better at that within yourself, it's glaring when you're in social situations where other people have that voice, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that used to be me, or it feels very out of alignment with like how you've gotten yourself back better from that. But it's interesting. I want to talk to you about, you have your Great DSA, that's your main full-time job, but you also have this beautiful business that you've started on the side that I find really touching and inspiring. And I'm always so excited to see you out and about and support it. And, La Coronita Hats y Más. Tell us about why you started that and why you decided to grow as a business owner in that direction, and the mission behind your work.
It actually ties in with everything we're talking about, because it was during the pandemic. I think in an odd way, the pandemic helped, I'll speak for myself. It helped me grow more, and it helped me open up my eyes a little more. I mean, who knew we ever imagined in our lifetime we'd experience a pandemic like that? But I was so tired of feeling down, and and it wasn't due to the pandemic. That's the thing I want to clarify. Like, I was tired of feeling down on myself with career challenges and even self-esteem, and a terrible relationship that I thought was great at that time, because like all I knew was what I knew, but like that wasn't a great relationship. So all of it, I'm like, something in my little soul kept saying, you need to do something. You need to do something for yourself. Like, I love that. And I am so grateful to be known as the host of Great DSA. It's such a joy, obviously, and it's such a title that I think sometimes I even take for granted, because I know how many people would love to be in my position. So I don't let that stray away from me. But I also want to be known for something else. Like, what am I about? Of course I'm about the show, but my mother's death impacted me a lot, and my own experience with cancer. So when I was going through chemotherapy, when they told me I was going to lose my hair, that is the only moment I cried, guys. Everything else I was like, all right, chemo, all right, wait a minute. Am I going to lose my hair? And they're like, yeah, all of it. And I was like, no, look at how thick it is. There's no way. But it all fell off. It really did. And then that was the moment of like, shoot, I am not me anymore. I had these puffy cheeks because they give you a steroid treatment with my treatment. It was steroids and the 3 different types of chemo. Every chemo is different. Every side effect is different. And I looked like your typical cancer patient. Maybe I caught myself staring at in the past, like, oh, wow, they're sick. And it was so crazy to be in that position, sitting at a restaurant, like bald and looking super sick, and people staring at you. And I was like, I don't like that feeling, But it was what it was at the time. And as I got older, during chemo, I would wear a lot of hats because I hated the wigs. They were like weird, and I would always joke around like I'm wigging out because they would like shift. I'm like, someone can tell I'd rather them know I'm bald than them know I'm wearing a wig. So I would wear hats a lot, and then as I grew older and moved to Texas, oh yeah, you're like a hat person when you move here. And my friends would joke like, you're the hat girl, you always have hats. I really got like into lack of color and some Stetsons, and I was like, man, I really love how a hat looks, But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I had the biggest collection ever, but slowly I'm like, what if I could do something with hats and make a little side money too? Because I'm not going to lie, like I wanted to make more money. Yeah. And in addition to feeling better and like I have a purpose here. So I started a pop-up with a whole bunch of vendors and hat people that I admired, Goran Bros, Lack of Color, Michelle from Chic Teak, she carries Lack of Color, so she was there. And then Goran Bros came down, and then Travis Austin, he's like super famous in Texas for his custom hats. His hats were there. So I was like, this is really cool. So I had one room full of hats. Outside was all artisans, local artisans. I had a market, and I donated a portion of the proceeds from the raffle and everything else to the Ovarian Cancer Coalition, because I'm an ovarian cancer survivor. And so then that kind of like ignited my, okay, I can do a business. And then when the pandemic hit, I'm like, I'm going to do it. Let's get some hats wholesale, like from the brands that I love and see how it goes. Well, it was a hit. People were loving it. My first pop-up at Feliz Modern, thank you to Ginger for believing in me, was a hit. I like almost sold all my hats. And it was so crazy. You don't even know what you're doing. I'm like, how many do I buy? How many do I take? How do I price the ones that I'm working with on artisans in Mexico to make? Like, these are a piece of artwork, but like, what matters most is that I'm working with these artisans and that they're getting paid what they so deserve for their beautiful products. But it just evolved. And then my mother's last name is Corona, which means crown. So she used to call me and all my female cousins her coronitas. And I'm like, your coronita is your hat, your crown. So my brother's a graphic designer and he was able to, with her handwriting, create my logo. So my logo is my mother's handwriting. And, she died of cancer. So all of it is just so fitting. And the reason I'm so proud to be Mexican is because of my parents, mostly my mom. She would always say that, in Spanish it sounds better, but she would always say she was more Mexican than the cactus. It's a phrase that you say when you're super proud of being Mexican. Soy más mexicana que los nopales. And I'd be like, she's so weird, as a teenager. I'd be like, she's so weird, but okay, cool. And all those things I never felt like ashamed of, but they resonate with me even more now. And so all of those elements were so important. And as people embraced the hat journey and it's grown now, I found my own artisan to create my own designs. So I design my own hats, including this one. And I donate hats to people who are going through chemotherapy because maybe not everyone wants to wear a wig or a scarf over their head or a beanie. Maybe they want to wear a stylish hat. And I remember being that person. And so my dream is to one day become a nonprofit where every cancer center has a rack of hats for someone who begins their journey with chemotherapy to just pick out a hat. Because that's kind of my process was they like welcome you to the chemo area. I was an inpatient because I had to be there for long hours in a day. And so you're there for a long time, but like something like that, like, okay, you're starting chemo, here's like a care package and here's a hat you can pick, and everyone's experience is going to be different and not everyone's going to be positive like me, or maybe some people will be even more positive and not even phased, but I want to add something to their journey for them to know they are absolutely not alone. Like, even if the neighbor next to you who's going through chemo is 80, like, trust me, y'all have a bond now. That it's Marvin Hirsch, Barry Davis, and I, we're all cancer survivors at Ken's 5. We say it's the club we never asked to be a part of. But we're a part of this club now, and we see things differently. And so if I could just add that spark of love and just a little bit of warmth and safety in such a scary time, because you don't know, like, your first chemo, you're like, what is this gonna feel like? I didn't feel anything. I had a catheter here, port catheter, and like, you don't feel chemo going through your veins, but you're like, that's how much deep I was like, okay, I'm gonna feel it. It's gonna hurt or this or that, but like, you don't even know what to expect. So at least something to give you a sense of love is really important through that process.
What a beautiful legacy for your mother.
Yeah, she has an idea. But this is where I tell y'all, like, the older I get, the more emo I am. And I'm just like, I wish she was here. And I was just talking about it today with my coworkers. They lost their fathers as well. And for them, it's been one of them 3 years, one of them 12 years. My mom's been gone 17 years. And we all agree, like, it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people say time helps, but sometimes I don't believe it does. I believe it's the acceptance thing, but time for me has created more of a void. And like, I just wish she was here to see all this. Like, I know she's seeing it, but I want to hear her. I want to smell her. I want her to cook me a dish because she was proud of me and like made me the best dish ever.
Yeah.
Like, those things where like a mother's love can never, ever be replaced or duplicated. I have other mothers that I can love on, but it's not my mother's love.
Yeah. Well, and it's very powerful to hear you say that as a new mother, because it helps give me perspective to know there is such greater meaning.
Oh my girl, like
in the work.
So what you're saying, like, you're so beautiful, like, and you're so sweet for being vulnerable and saying, like, I kind of have off days and I don't work out. And it doesn't matter, because all that matters is Leo. Leo, he's gonna be so like pumped that you're his mom and that you're his dad. And I'm not even a mom, but I'm telling you, kind of as an older child now, what I would do to just have my mom there and all the little things that maybe irritated me about her, because I was not the most angelic person. And I think that's another thing that I don't really talk about is like I have a lot of guilt. My mother and I had a bad relationship because of the language barrier, because I grew up in the United States of America in a city and that was really wealthy in the town we lived in. We were the poorest people in our town. And I also am so grateful to my parents for somehow they got us there. If I would have grown up in San Francisco on 23rd and Bryant, where I lived until I was 7, I probably wouldn't be in this seat right now, truly. So it's just crazy how my life, when I look back, like we didn't have everything, but my parents, with the language barrier, with the culture barrier, they made it happen for us. And here I am on a podcast talking about my life, like, and so motherhood and everything you're doing, you're right. And I don't know either because I'm not a mother, but I can tell you, like, you're everything. You really are.
That's really beautiful. Thank you.
It is. It's like, because look at me now. I feel like I've turned into my mom and my mannerisms, my anxieties, the sadness, like the worries. It's literally my mom 2.0 in certain things. I know
it's funny how that happens.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, I mean, I think, hearing the story of your parents and how they persevered, circling back to that spirit of creating your readiness to meet opportunity. A lot of that is done in the dark, in quiet, in silence. You only see, as what you always say, the tip of the iceberg, right? You see Roma smiling on Great Day SA, but it's just this discussion has been so meaningful to me. I know to you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get a little bit of the background of what is underneath, because everybody has these stories. Everybody has their own journeys and their own struggles. And, for a podcast where we're trying to give people permission to feel that it's okay to grow during the darker moments, during the more challenging times, and say, I accept this is okay. I'm not going to worry about what everybody else thinks of me or what everybody thinks I look like who doesn't know me when I'm bald in a restaurant. Like having that courage, you have just so eloquently shined a light on what that looks like in the many dimensions each person has, within them. So, I mean, I have so enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much.
Your mission for your company is like one of the most inspiring things I've heard in a long time. And I know that you wish that your mom could be here in person to see it, but she inspired the whole thing, and she is indirectly going to touch who knows how many people's lives through your work with that. And that's incredible. I mean, I thank you for having that. I had no idea. I thought it was, it's a hat company. It's really cool. And I didn't know that. And then the vision for the nonprofit and having them in hospitals, and just, that's the kind of love and positivity we need more of in the world. So thank you for doing that. It's
thank you guys
inspiring.
For letting me talk so much. And you know what else? Like, I'll share this because it's really important. Anything you do, doubt is always going to be there. And I actually took a break from the hats for 7 months. That's a long time, guys. Also, like, what am I thinking? 7 months, that's 7 months of not making money and not giving hats to people who need them. Like, what the heck? Because I donate them like monthly if someone nominates. Like, if I'm able to with inventory and whatever, situation I'm in, I will just donate to whoever I can donate. But like, I lost myself there because I was so doubtful. And like, I'm back right now, and I've been on this momentum. I just did Muertos Fest. It was such a beautiful event. Like, and it just, what you said right now, I really don't acknowledge. And I need to acknowledge more is like, I'm sharing my mother's story.
I feel
which
you
is
on
like,
that. I'm bad about that too.
Yeah. And like,
it's hard.
It's hard. And so just, I need to remind myself, don't give up.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look ugly sometimes. And like, this is never gonna work. Like, my hats are not selling.
Yeah.
People think they're too expensive. People don't understand like that they're handmade in Oaxaca, and like it costs me money to get them here. It costs me money to design them and buy them and get this great quality material. And it's really hard sometimes to explain that to people who aren't hatters, But beside all that, it's
hatters.
just like,
that's good.
Hatters. Nice. We're hatters. But like the why is what I lost in it.
Yeah.
And yes. Well, I think that's really easy to do. And, I am very, very lucky to still have my mother, but my grandmother passed away just after Christmas 2021. And she was my everything, you know, aside from my mother, but Mimi was everything. And she is the person who used to call me, you know, my blog back when I was creating it first, I named it Oh Eleonora because my most cherished moments of being a child in her kitchen dancing around, whenever I did something funny or that was very me, she would say, "Oh, Eleonora," you know, while she was cooking an Italian dish for all of us or whatever. So that why, when I started creating my own content, it was always kind of to try and bring those values from my grandmother to whatever I was creating. And I lost it for a period of time because I was so concerned with the what, the how, the da-da-da-da. And then after becoming a mother, I realized, wait a minute, none of the rest of it matters. It's just the world needs her values. The world needs her values. How can I do that through the things that I'm creating in a very humble, small way, you know? So I started my Substack back up, or my blog, so to speak, and I'm just doing very simple writings. But it's like you said, when you connect back with the why and the person who inspired it all, you know, it's very meaningful. Whether people read it, I don't care. But it's my way to connect with her because she didn't get to see my son, you know. I know that she sees him, but it's a challenge. The older that I get in, the more holidays that pass, I'm like, I miss her. And so how do we find those little moments to connect back to the people who gave us life and who gave us our values and made us who we are? It's just such a beautiful thing, what you're doing with your business.
Even acknowledging, because I know y'all probably want to wrap it up because I keep talking, but
no, it's great.
Like growth, that's even growth in itself. When you are aware of something, you're growing. Like
awareness is huge.
So like you're aware of it. I was aware of it. And that's how you can grow too, is just the simple little awareness. It doesn't, I think people are, have these misconceptions of what growth means or of what success means, or all these things. And it's like, no, like success is just the fact that you got up today. Maybe you were in a slump yesterday. You got up, like, and there's that thin line of like, okay, you're enabling someone to be this way, or it's really a win for you. Yep. And I think we're all aware of ourselves enough to know when we're being lazy, or when we're, you know, enabling ourselves, or when
grace.
Really it is a growth moment, you know? And so just like, you only have one life in one body, like take care of it and take care of you. And I mean, I got to tell myself that too every day. And it's like, I'm really blessed to have a partner that like literally we align on that. And I get to wake up next to him, like encouraging me the minute I wake up. And I'm just like, whoa, that feels good, you know? And not everyone has that. And I'm not saying like you need that for that, but it's good to have someone in your life to hold you accountable for what you have. Yeah?
We can relate.
We would not be sitting on this couch if that was not the dynamic.
Also, taking care of yourself is taking care of others, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. And I think that's like one of those things that I'll say every single episode of this to as many people as I can. You know, I like to say you can't put yourself last to put others first. I think it's a misconception that you're kind of just going to put all of your needs to the bottom of the list because you want to help other people, but then your cup's never full, and then you're never actually able to give the best version of yourself. And so I think that's so incredibly important. And one last point I want to make, tied into something you said earlier, just about being an entrepreneur, and you kind of not gave up, but put the hats to the side for 7 months. And, you know, I heard, this isn't the exact quote, but it was basically the idea was, when you're an entrepreneur, but I think it's applied to anything. You are sort of reconciling having so much confidence in yourself and thinking that you can be the absolute best at the thing you're doing, while simultaneously constantly doubting yourself and thinking that you're going to fail.
Yeah, and it's like, it's this
if you
crazy.
succeed, it's because the first voice is yelling louder than the second voice, but they're both always there. That's so true. And I think that's another important message. It's like, the people that succeeded didn't succeed because just everything went their way, and they only had the voice telling them they were great. You do it in spite of all of the hard stuff, and you just keep going.
I've asked a lot of people that, you know, Chef Johnny Hernandez is a close friend, Gerardo de Anda from the Gusto group. Like, I admire them a lot. They're super successful in town, but in their mission, and also they're good people. They give back. And I've asked them too, like, how, like, didn't you mess up? And they're like, absolutely. Like what you said. Yeah. Like, you're going to mess up. It's not all going to be success,
part of it,
you know? And that's a similar message that they both have shared with me. And even the women I know, Aisha at Niche, like, her story is incredible. Yes. You guys need to get her on in here
All
too.
right, we'll get her next.
I nominate Aisha. But
I like it.
all the women
for
that
you,
I
Aisha.
know that are small business owners, my friend Val from Chica Verde, like, you know, it's just incredible to hear their stories too. So I'm so blessed too to have like seek those people. If you want
Yeah.
if you want
Yes,
something,
absolutely.
learn the craft, seek the people who have been there, and they may not like know about hats. And that's something that Gerardo and Johnny have told me, like, hey, I don't really know hats, but I know this.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you'll learn when you make the mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh dang.
That's great.
But no, like I don't want the mistake to happen, you know?
Yeah.
So
That goes back to permission to grow, though. Giving yourself
Yeah.
permission to grow through making mistakes and finding, you know, ways to learn your way through them. I think
totally. And
It's hard.
And just like accept that you're gonna do all these things and these things will happen.
I'm
in
gonna
life.
keep that one. The accept.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah,
some. I
you
need more.
need more.
I can't
acceptance in
take
my
all the
life.
credit. My friend Jessica Honorado, I call her Shish. She recently saw me and, you know, going through some, you know, talking about, you know, struggles, whatever. And she's like, you have to just accept what is right now. Think about it. And like in that moment, I was like, you're crazy. I'm always wanting to control the situation or like, how can I make it better? What can I do better? But like, when you just accept, like, gosh, you put so much stress off of yourself too. So, yeah.
And also sometimes I think the very last point, sometimes growth is knowing when you're going to stand still for a minute and not continue to chase one thing or another thing or another thing. Sometimes that growth is really just you need to be confident in where you are, accept what is, and take a minute before you know, move to the next thing.
Literally. And it's our world right now, though. Everyone wants better,
Yes.
next. And like
Yes.
you were saying in the very beginning, you're worrying about the future. And before you're realizing, wait, my future's now. And like, So like, it's so, all those cliches are true, though.
That's
like,
the thing, right?
Live
It's so
in the
funny.
now.
Yeah.
you
They
know,
are.
it's
They are.
true,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right.
So where can everybody find you? Where can they find you on social media, La Coronita, all of it?
On TV.
On TV, yeah. Channel 5.
Hey, you can download the Ken's 5 app. I just want to say that because my dad watches every morning from California.
there we go.
So, but yeah, you can watch me there. But if you want to follow me on social media, go ahead. Like I feel weird like plugging myself,
dude,
but
this
No,
is
that's
the,
what-
that's the
I
venue
know.
for it.
So yeah. On Instagram, I'm Roma V on TV. I'm so mad at myself for that. I just
Love
wanted to be
that.
Roma
No,
V.
it's great.
And then one day I was like, no, I'm gonna be Roma V on TV. And then now I'm like, oh, but I have the like check mark.
You
so I
do
guess
have the check
that
mark.
makes me cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. But on Instagram for the hats, lacoronita.hats, or my website is just lacoronita.com. We do custom orders. Like I can truly create any hat that you can think of. Like I've done it. So
Cool.
we're happy to design anything you want. And most importantly, if you know someone who is going through chemotherapy, please nominate them on my website. You scroll down, you'll see my warrior, call it the warrior program because we are all warriors. And you nominate them there, and then I will email you or someone will email you back to ask more details. Like, you know, if we're able to do it in that month, we'll tell you. If not, we'll tell you it'll be next month. And what we need details like heads, you know, hat size, colors that they would like to wear, a little bit about them, you know, because I have to make sure kind of and that this person is going through chemotherapy too, just to make it a really honest program that I have.
That's
So,
wonderful. Well,
But it's my hope to do that more often.
so great. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and doing this.
Thank you guys. You're
Yeah, this has
such
been
beautiful
a
people.
very special conversation.
Likewise.
Y'all are special, and I'm so happy you're back in town. And
Thank you.
follow
Thank you.
them, please support them. Y'all are awesome.
Speaking of, yeah, you can follow at happy.notsatisfied, or I don't know, you want to,
Oh, I'm at Eleonora Morrison.
yeah, happynotsatisfied.com. You can check it out if you want to learn more. Rate the podcast, give us a comment.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here. This is just amazing, truly. So you're an inspiration.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.